Dr. Bassem Youssef is a television comedian. He used satirical comedy to hold the authorities to account during the Egyptian Revolution. He was a symbol of the promise of the Arab Spring and of its ultimate failure. When demonstrations began in 2011, Dr. Youssef quit his job as a heart surgeon to start a comedy show on YouTube. His wit and satire poked fun at the hypocrisy of the state-run media, which tried to discredit the protests, and it quickly became a smash hit. He was one man standing against the regime with no weapons but his jokes, and it soon made him an enemy of the state. As a longtime cartoonist for The Economist and fellow satirist, I was interested in his story. I wanted to talk with Bassem, now in exile in the United States, about those tumultuous times. There's nothing like a good dictator to get the cartoon juices going.
Living under a dictator for 30 years, that's like most of your life. You don't know anything else. Maybe your first exposure to anything political could be a revolution, and that's exactly what happened to me.
The success of his YouTube channel led to a television deal. His weekly satirical show, Al Burname, soon became the most viewed television program in the Middle East, with 30 million viewers per episode. As part of the show, he took to the streets to interview protesters as the government used force to try and silence them. But making jokes in such a serious situation wasn't always funny.
Even when I was doing field pieces and speaking to people who were like under fire and had like tear gas thrown at them. One time I was joking with a guy, that's a good quality tear gas that you guys are receiving. And the guy was like, yeah, but the guy that I was treating died. And I was like, damn. You can see in the movie how that damn smile got wiped off my face in 2 seconds. Why? And why did I ask this question, and why did I keep this footage? The director told me, no, we need to keep it. And I said, I don't want this. It makes me look like a jerk. And he said, like, no, but you're also showing people that this is real people.
But the people would not be silenced, and nor would Youssef. The mass protest forced President Hosni Mubarak to step down, democratic elections followed, and Mohammed Morsi of the Muslim Brotherhood was elected.
There was kind of this state of unpredictable fluidity. Nobody knew how far can we go in satire. We were placing bets which episode would be the last one.
Bassem's brand of satire was getting him fans from outside Egypt. He soon earned the nickname, the Egyptian Jon Stewart.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Stewart! I hosted Jon Stewart in Egypt, which is something that I'm very proud of. And the thing is, does satire gets you into trouble? I mean, what about the love you get from the people?
I'll tell you this, it doesn't get me into the kind of trouble it gets you into. If your regime is not strong enough to handle a joke, then you don't have a regime.
Everybody wondered if democracy could take root in Arabian soil. It didn't take long for the people to turn against the Morsi government and his failed policies. Protesters now started to demand Morsi's resignation, and the military stepped in.
Morsi, baby, انت مش هينفع تبقى رئيس بعد كده. العيب مش فينا احنا، العيب فيك انت.
General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the army chief, deposed President Morsi. It was a coup in all but name.
انت قلت
ايه؟ ايه السيسي كفاحل الارهاب
دي حلوه، سقفوا عليها، دي حلوه.
امال ايه؟
بينبسطوا هم من الحاجات دي. اللي بعديها قلت ايه؟
وعشان كده حصل انقلاب.
Youssef's attempts to ridicule General al-Sisi were not tolerated by the regime. The state increasingly jammed his broadcasts and threatened him with lawsuits. This time, though, the military man had some popular support.
It was unthinkable to even bring up the name of Sisi in comedy. I mean, he was not just the elephant of the room, he was the elephant and the room. Now you're dealing not just with a dictator or a tyrant, he had the people.
The mood around Youssef's show changed. Protesters regularly gathered outside his studio. He was arrested on several occasions, and eventually, the show was taken off the air in 2014.
When everything was coming to an end, I had to tell everybody it's gonna be over, because basically there was pressure on the hosting channel and no one would be brave enough to host us.
In the West, us satirists don't often live in fear of our own government, but suddenly we had new threats to consider.
So this idea of the red lines and religion, of course, came to a head with the Charlie Hebdo killing in Paris because of the drawings that appeared in the magazine of the Prophet. So I did a cartoon that showed that hate had actually won. At least they had won that skirmish.
What a great publicity to the religion, right?
Yes.
You know, it's just like, isn't it crazy? It's like, oh, we are a peaceful religion, but we will kill you, which is actually affects other people who are really peaceful.
Yousef's fall from grace was sudden, but the legacy he left behind will last.
What you did in Egypt, you did break barriers that no one had thought of for decades. It's only people like you who have started and done things, and if you cast the seeds, then there'll be other generations that come forward.
Satire is just a byproduct of freedom of expression. If you have freedom of expression, you have real democracy, you're going to have satire. They say, let laughter be thy medicine, right?
You're a doctor, you ought to know.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I think I never left.
Bassem is now forging a career in America. I hope his brand of satire and the freedom that it represented has not gone forever.